Hi everyone, I'm Dhyan of HS3C here to talk a few words about the non-cooperation movement. Now let us take a look over the brief introduction about the non-cooperation movement. Gandhi felt that the British rule had survived in India only because of the natives' cooperation, and without their cooperation it would soon collapse. He declared that the movement should begin with the surrender of government awarded titles, then a full civil disobedience campaign would be launched. This non cooperation movement began in January 1921. Various social groups participated in this movement, each with its own specific aspiration. All of them responded to the call of Swaraj, but the term meant different things to different people. Now, let us see about the causes of the non cooperation movement. Rowlatt Act. It gave the government enormous power to repress the political activities and allowed detention of political prisoners without any trial. Gandhi wanted to fight this by adopting non-violence, by organizing activities. Rallies were organized in various cities, workers went on strike in railway workshops, and shops were closed down. Now, let us see the features of the Rowlatt Act. Arrest without any warrant, detaining for 2 years without any trial, in camera trial or trial in seclusion, restriction on individual movement, cancellation of writ of habeas corpus are the features of the Rowlatt Act. Let us take our look over the Jallianwala Bagh incident. On 13th April, a crowd of villagers who had come to Amritsar to attend a fair had gathered in the enclosed ground of Jallianwala Bagh. Being from the outside the city, they were unaware about the martial law that had been imposed. Dyer entered the area, blocked the exit points, and opened fire on the crowd, killing hundreds. His object, as declared later, was to produce a moral effect to create in the minds of satyagrahis a feeling of terror. As the Jallianwala Bagh news spread, there were strikes, clashes with the police, and attacks on government buildings. The government countered this with brutal repression, seeking to humiliate and terrorize the people. Now, let us see the video of Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, feeling sorry about the Jallianwala Bagh incident.
The tragedy of Jallianwala Bagh in 1919 is a shameful scar on British Indian history. As Her Majesty the Queen said before visiting Jallianwala Bagh in 1997, it is a distressing example of our past history with India. We deeply regret what happened and the suffering caused. I'm pleased that today the UK-India relationship is one of collaboration, partnership, prosperity and security. Indian diaspora make an enormous contribution to British society, and I'm sure the whole House wishes to see the UK's relationship with India continue to flourish.
Now, let us see about the Khilafat issue. As the First World War ended with the Ottomans' defeat, rumors spread that a harsh treaty was going to be imposed on the Ottoman Emperor, the Khalifa. To defend the Khalifa's temporal power, a Khilafat committee was formed in Bombay in March 1919. Young Muslim leaders began discussing with Gandhi about the possibility of a united mass action on the issue. He took the advantage, and in 1920 he convinced other leaders of the Congress to start a non-cooperation movement in support of Khilafat along with the Swaraj. By completing the Khilafat issue, we completed learning about the causes of the non-cooperation movement. Now, let us take our next look over the course of the non-cooperation movement. Now, let us see about the causes of the non-cooperation movement. Townside. Thousands of students left the government schools and colleges, headmasters and teachers resigned, and lawyers gave up their loyal practices. The council elections were boycotted in most of the provinces except Madras. The effect of non-cooperation on the economic front was more dramatic. Foreign goods were boycotted, liquor shops picketed, and foreign clothes burnt in huge bonfires. The import of foreign cloth halved between 1921 and 1922, its value dropping from rupees 102 crores to rupees 57 crore. As the boycott movement spread and people began discarding imported clothes and wearing only Indian ones, production of Indian textile mills and handlooms went up. Next up, countryside. The people of the countryside took the meaning of Swaraj in a different way. For example, in Awadh, before 1920, peasants were suffering a lot because of the oppressive landlords and talukdars. When Nehru came across this, he set up Auda Kisan Sabha to help them, and soon 300 branches of it was set up. Next, let us take a look over the plantation side. Under the Act of 1859, plantation workers were not permitted to leave the tea gardens without permission and were rarely given such permission. When they heard of the non-cooperation movement, thousands of workers defied the authorities, left the plantation and headed home. They, however, never reached their destination. Stranded on the way by a railway and started strike, they were caught by the police and brutally beaten up. Next, let us see about the tribals. In the Gudem hills of Andhra Pradesh, a militant guerrilla movement spread in the early 1920s. Here, the colonial government had closed large forest areas, preventing the people from entering the forest to graze their cattle or to collect fuel and fruits. This enraged the hill people. When the government began forcing them to contribute, they began for road building. The hill people revolted. But at the same time, he arrested that Indians could be liberated only by the use of force, not non-violence. This led to the total destruction of the non-violence. Now, let us see the last part of this, that is the cancellation of non-cooperation movement. Non-cooperation movement spread everywhere, from towns to villages and village to hills. Gandhiji wanted this to be non-violent, but in Chauri Chaura, a village in Gorakhpur district of Uttar Pradesh, this movement became a violent one. Around 3,000 peasants were picketing the liquor shops and police lathi charged them. Angry villagers set fire on the police station and 22 policemen were killed. That is why Gandhiji cancelled off the movement, because Gandhiji was accused with a judge of this violence.